Delusions, Christopher.
Delusions. Wow. Okay.
Lies.
What's going on, everybody? Critic in the Common Man here with a fresh review. You all saw the thumbnail of The Devil All the Time. Just dropped on Netflix today. We ran home, watched it as soon as we could, and wanted to get this review up for you guys ASAP, so you can hear what we have to say.
Now again, it's all the time. It's literally
not
all
some
the
of the time, not most of the time.
No,
all of the time.
I said that in the trailer review. I just want to make sure that we're here. You know, like now it's.
That's right. As always,
like
since
all
this
the
movie
time.
just came out, this is your one and only spoiler warning. All these reviews that the Critic and the Common Man do have spoilers, so you've been warned. Go watch it on Netflix and then come back if you haven't seen it already. You know what else we said in the trailer review for this, Christopher, and some of the viewers may know? We said that it might be kind of a boring movie. Now here we are, 2 hours and 20 minutes later. Kind of a fucking boring movie to me, man. I'm not going to lie. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have plenty of positives to say about this, but overall, this felt really long to me. And to be totally honest with you, man,
It did feel
I was
long.
kind of disappointed. I think I was expecting a little more of a thriller. Now, again, this is...
Right, and that is the biggest
Yeah.
issue of the movie, is that it totally set itself up to be some sort of creepy horror thriller suspense, and it really wasn't. It was just about
was a
some
drama.
like middle of it was the middle of nowhere southern, little town with like a preacher who's just kind of a perv. That's really
that
what
was the biggest thing for me. It was a drama, and I definitely thought it was going to be a kind of psychological thriller. And it was not. It was a drama. So I was sort of waiting for it to ramp up, and it just sort of kept this plateau until, I don't know, maybe the last 20 minutes or so. Then it kind of does ramp up when everything kind of gets tied together. But yeah, honestly, not super impressed with the intensity level, with the excitement level of this movie. Now, nothing bad to say about the acting. Nothing bad to say really personally about Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson, any of them. Acting was spot on. I give credit where credit is due. But I got to be honest with you, man, I got about an hour into this movie, and I was pretty much over it. I was kind of waiting for something to happen, was kind of hoping for a little more, I guess, intensity, excitement, something, and it just, I don't know, it sort of fell flat for me, man. It was very much a drama where I was really hoping it was going to be a little more of a thriller. No, I don't know. It just, even when we were watching the trailers seemed pretty vague, and
we did say that. Yeah,
and I kind of remember thinking, unfortunately, this is a star-studded cast, but I could see this being kind of a boring movie. It just didn't. I didn't find it all that entertaining, and I was then kind of thinking, okay, maybe it'll just be more interesting. It kind of lost me a little bit there too. I was looking for a little more excitement in this. I got to be honest.
See, it's funny because. And normally I don't do this. I don't like to look at reviews and stuff before we do the podcast, just because I like to go in with like my own opinion.
Right.
And I have to say, I find it a little strange that the reviews didn't do as well as I thought, because I actually enjoyed this movie. It was boring. It was slow, but there was something about it that just kind of kept my attention. I don't know. Again, I'm a weird person, and I like movies that have writing and have development and that kind of stuff. I don't care if they're slow. I don't mind that. So I really did enjoy it, but I wish that the climax of the movie had been like the middle, and that the rest of the movie. So like it would have been cool if we had a little bit of the setup, and then not so much of like the town. Like we don't really care. Like a lot of the stuff didn't really push the movie forward really all that much. It set up this creepy
character development.
Like we don't really understand why they showed the crucifixion at the beginning. It kind of sets it up to be like there's going to be like a demon or some sort of creepy thing going on, and it never really does that. Although you could argue that that's the reason the town is like that, you're not really sure. But then it gives us all of this backstory into like they're literally kids for like the first 45 minutes.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
It
I even have in my notes, by the time Tom Holland comes into this, I had forgotten he was even in this movie. And then by the time
Robert Pattinson comes in at
by the time Robert Pattinson comes in, I'd
fourth act.
completely forgotten that he was even in this movie. He doesn't.
Right.
Robert Pattinson doesn't even show up in this film until like 40 minutes in, dude.
Yeah. And so again, really, it's just a really slow-paced movie, which for me doesn't bother me. For the average person, probably going to bother you. But it would have been cool to see all of the shit that went down at the end of the movie where he's, shooting people and all of that happen a little earlier. Just get through the kid part faster than have him find out about his sister and all that and have that be the midpoint of the movie. And then he goes apeshit and then it's about him being on the run or something.
Yeah, but even at the end, by the time he started killing people, I wasn't even really excited about it because the movie had been so depressing up until that point. I was tired of seeing people die. I didn't want any more people
really
to
dark.
die. And then the sheriff, he has to kill the sheriff because the sheriff's being a dick and trying to kill him too. By the end of it, I'm just thinking, I'm tired of people dying. Like, enough death. See where the
really
story
dark.
is
It was
going.
a very dark movie, and there was no happy ending or anything. It is a very dark movie. It ends in some weird. I mean, let me put this out there. It's not an accident that the guy that saves him at the end looks like Jesus. That's not an accident.
Yeah.
That was 100% done on purpose. With like, you could dive into the meaning of this movie, or the intended meaning or whatever. There's definitely a lot of symbolism, especially when he kills the guys and then he puts the Luger with his dead dog's
he buries
bones.
that with the dog. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the symbolism there, wrapping it up. Like putting his dad to rest, putting all of that shit to rest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of symbolism in this movie. A lot of it. The cinematography was beautiful. I'll give it that. The cinematography, the editing, the acting was great. The casting, everything. It's just the story itself just wasn't quite there, even though it tried to be there. It really did try, because there was a lot, again, a lot of symbolism, and the writing was trying to push the story, but I just don't think that it had enough.
You know what, though, man?
it.
To me, a good cast and symbolism, a great movie does not make. You know what I mean? Like,
No,
it's just
I know,
not
absolutely
enough,
not.
especially when a movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes long. And I know people.
Yeah,
look,
when I
there's
saw
some
that, I was
people,
like, this better be good.
Well, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. This better be good. And then when I was an hour in, I think I even texted you at some point when we were watching this, because we were trying to coordinate when we were going to review. And I'm sitting there going, hey, I really hope this picks up at some point, because I have an hour and 20 minutes left and I'm pretty bored.
Your exact words are, he better start shooting people or something. And
I was like, Tom Holland better start shooting people real quick. I just, some people are going to say that they absolutely love this just because it's Tom Holland, just because it's Robert Pattinson. That's fine. To me, I got to be honest, I was just underwhelmed. Nothing against the acting, nothing against the characters. Tom Holland was completely convincing. Robert Pattinson completely convincing. Jeff Skarsgård,
Bill
guy.
Skarsgård.
Bill. I don't know why I said Jeff. Bill Skarsgård is. He was great too. All of the acting was there. I don't know. My biggest mistake was going into this thinking that it was a thriller, and then ended up watching a 2 hour and 20-minute long drama. It's it was just very different action-wise and suspense-wise than what I thought it was going to be. I was a little bit disappointed.
Like, I hate it when movies will put in clips like they show clips of like World War II and Vietnam and stuff in the trailer. And I was like, you literally showed the only clips of that are going to be in the movie. So like, why even put it in the trailer? You're setting people up to make it think that there's going to be this grander story, but there literally were two scenes.
I think this is a classic case of probably the book being better than the movie. I think a lot of people read the book. Oh yeah, this is a book.
Oh, I had no
popular
idea.
book, I believe, from a while ago. I think this book is a little older. I'd have to look at the exact date, but I do know this is based on a book.
I didn't know that.
I don't know. There was so much detail, and the whole thing was just backstory, character development. There was very little actual action. And I was expecting us to see a lot more of the serial killer couple. I thought the movie was about a serial killer. Yeah. And then you don't really see that much of them doing their thing. It just, I don't know. The story was all over the place. There was so many people that this movie sets up to hate. You end up hating everybody except for Tom Holland.
At the beginning of the movie, the narrator sets up that that the movie is going to be about multiple people's stories and how they all kind of intertwine. But they didn't really intertwine until Tom Holland had to kill them. Like, that's really the only reason. And like, I saw that happening, as soon as his car broke down, I was like, he's going to get picked up. He has the Luger on him. He's going to kill them. I saw everything happening. I saw it all coming. Again, I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was bad, but it just kind of leaves you with it leaves you with a so what feeling at the end.
Yeah, I just was unimpressed, to be totally honest, with the movie itself. And we just came off of watching I'm Thinking of Ending Things, which, if you guys haven't seen that one, Well, I can't even say watch our review. Make your own decision on whether you want to watch that or not. Just know we put up a full review for that. If you want to, if you don't want to watch it, but you want to hear what people have to say about it, you can check it out. But just know that that's another very long, very deep movie. And by the end of that, you're a little bit exhausted as well. So I think I'm just a little bit mentally fatigued right now from the movies we've been watching.
Yeah.
And then the other problem
so
again
next week we're watching the scary movies.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Because I don't know, my biggest flaw with this, honestly, was going into it thinking that it was a thriller. I think I need to start doing just a little bit of research before we go into these movies instead of watching it and then doing research after.
They set us up.
I don't know though, man. Because when we did that trailer reaction, we even said we think this might be kind of boring.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just. And again, even if it's a drama, okay, it's a drama, but a 2 hour and 20-minute drama better be a little more interesting than that. And especially with the cast that this had, I would have loved to have seen this cast in a thriller, in a serial killer thriller movie. I thought would have been amazing.
Well, why would you cast Bill Skarsgård, somebody who is known for these creepy fucking, like he's in Castle Rock? Castle Rock.
Yeah.
Did Siri think you were talking to her?
She did. Yeah, she was trying to help out.
Like Castle Rock was a great series on Hulu, and I would love to at some point review that because holy shit, it's really good.
Yeah.
But then, like the It movies and stuff, like he's known for being that guy.
That's
that
what I know
creepy
him
actor.
from.
Right, and so like why? I mean, I guess it kind of sounds messed up to say that he can't be anything else besides that, but they set up the tone in the trailer, and then they show us Bill Skarsgård, and all of these creepy shots of like crucifixions and people getting their asses, like it
was just so depressing, man. It was so depressing the whole way through. I don't know what I was expecting. I was expecting something with a little more action, a little less horribly dark and depressing.
Yeah.
It's just a sad story, and like you said, you kind of end up at the end with a little bit of a so what feeling. I don't know if those serial killers were real, if that was based off of a true couple, a true serial killer couple. I have no idea.
But then make a movie about them.
Well,
But
I mean,
the
and
movie
that's what
wasn't
this
about
was
them.
kind of supposed to be. It was partly about them, partly about Tom Holland's character growing up. It was just sad. It was really sad. And when you're watching a movie that sad and it stays that sad for 2.5 hours, it becomes kind of mentally exhausting.
From beginning to end, I mean, his mom dies. His dad kills himself. His dog, first of all, his dad crucifies his dog and then kills himself.
Yeah.
And then he gets adopted.
Part of the problem is that they're in rough 'em up or hit 'em up or whatever. I don't even remember. West Virginia, whatever the town was.
Knock 'em dead?
That
Something
town,
like that.
yeah, knock 'em stiff. Knock 'em
Knock 'em
stiff,
stiff.
I think.
What the hell kind of a name is that?
Yeah, it's a fighting town. It's a rough town, apparently. But first of all, they're in the most depressing part of this country. I from what I've seen and what I've read about, I'm fairly sure that most parts of, not most, that's insensitive, but I'm fairly sure that a lot of parts of West Virginia are still like that today. They're super rural, super low income, super uneducated, just rough areas of the country to be. Mostly like white trash kind of people. I shouldn't say trash, but just white kind of scummy people that are living out there.
Yeah.
And it's, so it sets it up that it's already depressing in that way. And then it just stays depressing throughout the entire thing. Even at the end, I wasn't even happy that he shot that sheriff. I was still sad that the sheriff was killed too.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking it's enough death. Stop killing people. Why is the sheriff on such a rampage just to protect his creepy sister?
I don't know. I will say that the sheriff's character was completely. I didn't understand because you wanted to like him because the actor portrayed him in this likable way, but then the character itself was making all these choices that didn't really make sense. Like, why did he shoot those guys? Like, we have no idea why he shot those guys. He just kind of because you couldn't work out your own.
They were looming over him and manipulating him, and he thought they were going to kill him is the problem.
Yeah,
I think because his sister died,
but
he thought they were going to come for him and kill him, so he had to kill them first, kind of.
But she hadn't even died yet at the time.
Had she not died?
No.
I thought she was dead when he did that.
No,
she was dead, dude. She was dead because he put the picture. I don't know. There was so much that took place. I think she was already dead when he killed them. Maybe not. Maybe they called him for the double homicide after that. It all happened pretty quick.
I think that's what it. Yeah. Well, either way, man.
But it was also, and this is a little bit of a touchy subject. So get involved or stay as uninvolved as you want here, but I'll say it. It's also that super depressing, religious, just blind following faith that doesn't help these people at all. And they're like obsessed with praying, and they're so strict in their religion, and they're following these pastors. And oh man, even when I hear other stories about that, it's just depressing to me. The wife is dying, and all they can do is abuse his son and scream at a wooden cross and pray out there. And he kills the dog as a sacrifice to God. And it's like, what are you doing, man? And just as as somebody who's not that, I'll just say, as somebody who's very much not heavily religious in any way like that, it's just depressing to me to see these societies of people that are just blindly following this faith to their detriment, and it just ruins their lives.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's part. I think that is part of the point that they were trying to make in this movie, that it was kind of this idea of this like loss of religion, because the only person who had their head on straight kind of was the one who wasn't religious.
Right.
And again, it's not an accident that the character at the end that picked him up, the hippie in the really fucking awesome Volkswagen van, looked like Jesus. And that's the one line that we got, and the only moment we see him is when we see his face. The whole movie is definitely making an allegorical reference to, not allegorical. There's definitely symbolism, like heavily
like a metaphorical kind of thing.
Yeah. It is very, very present in the movie. It's definitely touching on religion, on
no doubt,
letting go of the past. I mean, you could dive into this as much as you want, but the movie unfortunately wasn't quite there.
There were too many bad guys to me. There were too many bad guys, and it's almost like Tom Holland's character. He was a hero, I guess, but even him, he was pretty rough around the edges. There wasn't really a super redeeming character in this at all.
Yeah, you're not sure if you like Tom Holland because of the character or Tom Holland because he's Tom Holland. It's...
Well, right, exactly. If that was some no-name actor in this role, would he still feel like such a hero, if he wasn't Spider-Man, basically? And I know that's not super fair to Tom Holland. He did great in this.
He did,
he pulled off the accent. Robert Pattinson's accent was creepy. Dude. Man, he was creepy.
He did a damn good job at...
he did.
At that, like he honestly played this part very well.
Yeah, I don't know, just too many bad guys in a long, depressing story. And again, maybe a little bit of research prior to watching this would have fixed the perception we had for this film. But we called it, man. We even said in our trailer review, this could be kind of boring, because it looked like it was going to be a little bit overload of drama, because there wasn't a whole lot of action in that trailer. It was a lot of dialogue and kind of hinting at things and subliminal messaging kind of stuff. And it was so dark. I wasn't expecting it to be quite that dark. And there was just a lack of action there for me. Yes. I mean, if I'm being totally honest, totally transparent, I was just a little disappointed, to be honest. I was a little bored.
Well, then, I mean, is there anything that you did like?
Oh, of course. I mean, the casting was spot on. It was nice to see Tom Holland break out of the Spider-Man Marvel kind of role and get into something a little darker. His acting was insane. Robert Pattinson's acting was great. The feeling of the whole thing was spot on with the production. It felt like you were back in that time in rural West Virginia, and all the cars they were driving were rusty and the outfits were there. It did everything right from a technical standpoint to me. But I'm not looking at that stuff really when I watch a movie. Yeah. I'm the kind of person who just sort of ignores that, but likes the movie better because it's good and doesn't even really know why. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not looking at the tones and the color palettes and the costuming and all that stuff. I'm just, at the end of the day, I'm sitting down to see if I was entertained. And I think we judge movies a lot of times based on their entertainment value. And this one, other than maybe the last 20 minutes and then, pockets spread throughout, scarcely. I just wasn't all that entertained with this. Well, I gotta be honest.
Like, there's this whole sequence that they do in the movie where he goes and finds the people that have been like bullying his sister.
Right.
He gets the revenge and stuff, but like none of that was really important to the story. Like the movie, you could have taken that out and the movie would have been the same.
Well, right. He stops his sister from getting bullied, but then she just ends up getting molested and basically raped by this preacher. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's the redeeming moments in this movie were not even redeeming.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to the thing that I've always said is that emotional peaks and valleys, as you put it, was just not there. It was like down here the
Yeah,
entire
it was a
movie.
valley. The whole thing
And so
was a
you're right.
valley.
You feel fucking exhausted by the end of it. So then, like, I guess how would you rate it then? Like, I'm curious what your score is because I feel like mine's going to be a little
Yeah,
higher.
so it's so new that the Rotten Tomato scores are basically irrelevant at this point. I mean, you got to imagine this thing just dropped, so it's going to take a little while to get those scores. I actually went on Rotten Tomatoes earlier, and we may need to edit them in. The critic score is this, and the audience score is this. And I say that because I went on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was like the Rotten Tomatoes servers are down or something. The website wasn't working. So we'll edit those in for you guys. So it is what it is. But
I
personally,
believe that it was like in the 50s for the critics.
wow, that
Yeah.
seems. See, I would have thought that the critic score would have been fairly high on this,
I agree.
because generally the critic scores for the drama movies are pretty good, and I would have thought the audience was lower. Maybe the audience will be higher because there's so much love for Pattinson and Holland. But
Maybe.
personally, if I'm rating this one on a scale of 10, I got to be honest, man. I think I'm coming in at a 6.
Okay.
I was pretty unimpressed. I was pretty bored. The ending was interesting, how it finally all tied together, but it was about an hour too late for me that it all actually happened.
100% agree with that.
Full props, full credit to the acting, full credit to the casting, full credit to the production. None of that I had a problem with. Full credit to Tom Holland for stepping out of his comfort zone and doing this. Can't wait to see him in more stuff like Uncharted. This sets it up very well for that because he clearly has a great range and a great actor. But as someone who's not a fanboy of Tom Holland, I just appreciate him as an actor. This movie bored me. It was longer than it needed to be. I think they could have cut about 45 minutes out of this, and I probably would have been much more on
100%.
board. At least half an hour. So for me, I'm gonna give it a 6, and I feel pretty confident in that score. What about you?
I'm pretty close to that. Again, I kind of went into this expecting something darker in a different way. Like this was dark in like the depressing sort of way that it touches on, rape and,
Right.
and molestation
Right.
and blind faith and like all of these really heavy, kind of controversial topics that I wasn't prepared for. I didn't expect that. I kind of thought it was going to be more about like an oppressive force in a small town, with like the crucifixions and the,
yeah,
the creepy setup and everything. Like it just, I don't know. They totally set it up to be sort of like a thriller horror, in my opinion, and it didn't deliver any of that. It was just this very long, depressing character arc that kind of felt like it was about Tom Holland, or Tom Holland's character, I should say. And it was just weird because I expected it to kind of have at least some sort of character arc, but he just kind of gets angry, gets revenge, and then
Yeah,
the
he just-
movie ends. It's just
Right,
like
it gets
okay.
stepped on over and over and over throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and I mean, there were some cool scenes here and there. Like there was this scene, the scene where Tom Holland goes to talk to the preacher, and he's just in the background, and the preacher is just surrounded by the window with like the light pouring in behind him, and Tom Holland's just slightly off center behind him, like dark in the background. Beautiful cinematography overall. The mood, the tone, everything was there. The acting was phenomenal. Everybody had the perfect accents. I believed everything. I just didn't care. And so I'm somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7. And I am leaning more towards the 7 just because I feel like there is some deeper meaning to this movie that I feel like as a critic, you could definitely write about this movie. But as like the average person, you're probably going to be bored. And so I think I'm going to go 6.5.
Cool.
Because, reviewing the movie as what it is just wasn't quite there.
Yeah, dude, I just, again, we a lot of times we rate movies based on their entertainment. I wasn't all that entertained. It was just a little too dark for me. But yeah, I'm with you, and well said. I mean, there were a lot of things that were set up very well, and I do think that, again, whenever you're dealing with a drama that's based off a book, which most of them are, you can almost guarantee that there's going to be some story plot or something that you don't really get as well through the movie. It's not always the best media for the drama genre, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think cinema works the best in the sci-fi and maybe the thriller genre. That's just me. You could argue action. You could argue that a lot. That'd be an interesting debate. But I think there are some genres that generally seem a little better on the books. Like the psychological horror is definitely one of them. Like something like I'm thinking of Ending Things, where it's really deep and there's a lot of depth, and it's not them fighting a monster. It's them fighting some crazy happening.
Yeah.
I think that translates better in book, and I also think that dramas do as well.
Well, and the reason being that you can see into the characters' minds and stuff where you can't get that idea. Like they have to basically portray that through visuals, and sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a very
But-
good point. All right, so yeah, 6 and a 6.5. You got anything else for this one, Chris, or you want to jump into our current event for today?
No, I mean I'm a little disappointed, but I kind of expected it. So
Yeah, we had an inkling. We had an inkling that it might happen, and we were right, unfortunately. Not always great to be right about that. So that's it. If you guys enjoyed that review, drop us a thumbs up. We're going to jump into our current event for today. But before we do, leave a comment. We pretty much read all of them. We don't get a ton of them yet. We're still a small channel, so we'll read your comment. Even if you think our review's bullcrap, let us know, and we'll talk about it. We're happy to debate or discuss. We really appreciate it. So give us a thumbs up.
he did say.
What'd you say?
I'm going to translate bullcrap for those of you who are not 100% sure means bullshit. Just
Yeah, that's the adult version there, the proper English version. Yeah, so
Queen's
if you guys
English.
like what we had to say, drop a thumbs up down below. We appreciate it. Otherwise, leave a comment. Let us know. Maybe we missed something here. There's something you wish we talked about that we didn't. Let's talk about it in the comments. That being said, let's jump into our current event today. Unfortunately, a little bit depressing current event as well. I figured it kind of fit the tone of today's episode. So let's talk about this. So, Tenet, the movie Tenet, Christopher Nolan film. You guys have probably all heard of it right by now, probably a lot of things. Unfortunately, did not do well in the box office in the U.S., and a lot of people are saying that really doesn't bode well for theaters in the U.S. and really globally. What do you think? Does a Tenet flop? Does that mean that other big production studios are going to be staying away from the theaters for a while, or is it only a matter of time until movies are back and things are just like they used to be?
Well, Tenet specifically, I don't think so. Because I am not exactly a huge fan of Christopher Nolan, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, I'm sure.
Whoa, from me, dude. Fuck you.
I think, and no, like I don't think he's a bad director. I just think he tries to be a little too. He tries to be too different. Like he's basically like a better version of M. Night Shyamalan is the way I see him. He tries to do all these weird things like Inception and all that. And Inception was cool because it was new, it was unique, it was different. But now Tenet is just kind of like it's time travel but backwards. Like okay.
Yeah, they're trying to make it as loopy as possible, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's like it's becoming his thing to just be the weird. Like he's basically turning into M. Night Shyamalan, and it's okay. It's whatever.
It's a hard time. It's a hard time to put a movie out in theaters, regardless of what a movie is.
And so that's what I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted.
No. I'm just saying that to answer your question specifically, Tenet. I don't think Tenet is the base, but the only other movies that are in theaters right now have all flopped.
Yeah.
So,
but what else is in theaters right now is the problem. Like the New Mutants. We haven't done a review of it yet because the theaters have still been closed in California and everything, so we're kind of behind on movies. But everything we hear about the New Mutants, just from a movie standpoint, says it's horrible. And
right, and so it makes you wonder if people are gonna go to.
Well, what I wonder is what I think the real test would be, and we may figure this out when Disney puts out Soul. We'll see if they actually put it in theaters or put it straight to Disney Plus. But if a Pixar movie was to come out in theaters right now, a movie that you can pretty much guarantee is going to be good, would it still flop, or would people go to the theaters to see it? I think with how over COVID people are, I think generally it would do pretty well. Now, I don't know if it would do well enough to justify putting it in theaters, but like you said, it's a hard time to be putting movies in theaters regardless of what you're putting out. And so to put out a movie as confusing and as enigmatic as Tenet seemed to be just from the trailers, I think was a pretty rough move. And I think it kind of set itself up to do pretty bad in theaters. But I think Tenet, if it were to go to Netflix, for example, I think it'd be #1 trending on Netflix for 2 weeks. I think people would flock to see it because I do think there's interest in seeing it. But I think even if COVID wasn't going on, to put out a movie that enigmatic, I like that word. That sounds cool, so I'm going to keep using it. That enigmatic and that kind of mysterious in the trailer, I think it's hard for people to justify going to see it because they just don't know, first of all, what the hell it's about. And second of all, if they're going to like it or not. They have no idea.
And that's kind of my biggest issue is that you don't really know what it's about.
No,
so I don't know. I don't think that it's fair to say that this movie is like the basis for whether or not all films are like whether people are going to go or not. But it doesn't bode well that so far every movie that's coming out has
but
been
the problem is
flopping.
these movies that we're getting right now, be it the movie's fault or other, be it COVID's fault, they're kind of the canaries, for these other movies. They're the signal. So when you've got a company like Pixar who's saying, well, how are movies doing in the theaters? And they're saying, well, not well. Tenet's flopping, Bloodshot's flopping, The New Mutants is flopping. Pixar, Disney, Universal, they all look at that and go, oh, well, movie theaters are just not doing well right now. But really, it could be a combination of things, man. It could be that theaters aren't doing well and that these movies are just not the best movies ever.
Imagine if Endgame had come out
That's
during
the thing.
this time.
People would flock to it. You know what I mean? People would be getting COVID left and right just to go see these movies, I think.
Yeah.
But it is scary because there are some huge titles coming to theaters before too long. We are basically looking at the lineup here in the next 12 months of some huge movies, dude. We're looking at
movies.
Dune. We're looking at Death on the Nile. We're looking at the new Suicide Squad. We're looking at what else? There's other movies we've done trailer reviews for that are coming out that are Pixar Soul. We're looking at some big movies that are in the lineup here pretty soon.
There's two Pixar movies coming out.
What's the other one? The Raya and the Last Dragon one, or is that
That's
Disney?
the one, yeah.
I don't know. I think any company that has the ability to put their movies straight onto a streaming platform is going to do so. I
agree.
honestly believe that. I think we're not going to see a big resurgence of theater attendance rather until probably somewhere in the midpoint of 2021. I would say early to midpoint of 2021. Kind of depends on if a vaccine comes out. Kind of depends on what the COVID numbers do. But I don't think we're going to see a serious resurgence of people going into theaters until probably around midway through 2021, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unless they start offering free margaritas.
There you go. Well, and the problem, too, is like for you and I would have gone to theaters to see New Mutants and Tenet just for the sake of this podcast, but the theaters are still closed in a lot of places. So even then, some people who would go see perhaps Tenet or the New Mutants, they can't. So they're obviously not going to travel to another state just to go see a movie that people are saying is not that great. You know what I mean? It's a hard time for movie theaters to be shut down. But we'll see. We'll see. There's some big movies in the lineup, like we said, coming out here before too long. I hope that companies kind of start the trend of putting them back in. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's going to be slow for a while.
Yeah, I agree. One can only hope because
That's right.
I love movie theaters, so I'm really hoping that some better stuff comes out.
Well, even the theaters right now, man, and this is the last thing I'm going to say because I know we're going on a while about this current event, but even the theaters, like, I don't even think if you go with your girlfriend or your wife or whoever, I don't even think you can sit next to them. Like, I'm pretty sure the theaters are every other seat right now, regardless of who you come with. Not that somebody would probably kick you out. I mean, if you went there with somebody and just once the movie started, you scooted over a seat, I don't think anybody's kicking you out of the theater. But you know what I mean? There's a strangeness to it now. And I wouldn't mind having a seat in between me and some random. I mean, that'd be nice. I wish I could have that all the time. But I want to be able to sit next to the people I go with.
Yeah, I agree. So that you can hold their hand.
So you can make out.
Up in the back corner.
Yeah. All right, man. That's it. You got anything else for The Devil All the Time, or do you want to say anything else about our current event for today, Chris?
No.
No. That's it. Delusions.
Yeah.
Illusions!
Well, sorry, guys. I was hoping to get a little more positive review for this one. I didn't love it. Let us know what you think. As always, drop a thumbs up down below or a thumbs down if you hated it. Hey, fair is fair. But either way, leave a comment in the comment section down below. We want to hear what you guys have to say. That was the Critic and the Common Man review of The Devil All the Time, fresh out on Netflix. We wanted to get this one out for you guys pretty soon. We hope you enjoyed the review. Let us know what you think down below. Chris, we're out of here, brother.
I was going to come up with something cool and southern to say, but I don't.
Pray on it. Pray on it.
I
It'll come to you.
froze. I froze.